Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Racers World Cup. It all comes down to this. It's the final race of the season. We're back in Mount Panorama in Australia, and it's looking to be an absolute dogfight. Three teams, Toyota, Audi, and Mercedes, will be battling for the overall victory here for the championship. Unfortunately, every other brand has been knocked out of contention by this point. Toyota and Audi going into this race tied in points with 63 to each one. Mercedes having quite the challenge in front of them. Mercedes needing an absolute perfect race in order to win the championship. They would need to come in first place, and Toyota and Audi would both have to finish outside of the points. So quite the mountain in front of Mercedes, but it's racing. We've seen crazier things happen all throughout this season at the most random of times. So it's definitely not outside the realm of reality for Mercedes. Now, for Toyota and Audi, however, coming into this race tied with 63 points between the two, they would need to finish before one another, but also have the fastest lap bonus point in order to certify their victory over one another. So the more serious battle, if you will definitely be between Toyota and Audi, Rice and Jensen. All three of whom qualified on the front of the pack. So like I said, it's going to be an absolute dogfight from the very beginning. And the beginning we shall see here as they form in the formation lap, coming to the green flag. Here we go, racing in the championship race. Isidro in the lead in pole, Jensen behind him in second, and Rice closing out third place. Gills and Mystics closing out the top five as they come into turn one in Mount Panorama. Now, another thing that I feel is of note is that Rice, with Team Toyota, unfortunately do not have a good history here, although he seemed to kind of change things around in the qualifying as he qualified very, very nicely. But yes, he does not have a good history here. In Season 1, he had an accident on the very last laps of the race, which was very unfortunate. He pretty much DNF'd at the end of the race. So we'll see if he can conquer that mistake from Season 1. We'll see if he could finish this time around, or not only that, but perhaps actually crown himself as the champion, as it seems Jensen is already attacking Isidro. Gills somehow getting around Rice. We didn't even see that. So Rice, unfortunately, moving down a position here on the first lap, which is definitely not what him and Team Toyota want. On the contrary, Isidro actually making a little bit of a gap from Jensen, besides him actually kind of looking to be into attack mode there momentarily as they go through turns 12 to 17 as they're getting close back to the Conrad Straight. Well, here in a few more turns, but Jensen closing a lot of space there under braking, as it looks like Rice is trying to get his third place position back from Gills, but they are on Conrad Straight now, and that Lamborghini is going to have a higher top speed. Toyota's Achilles heel this entire season being that top end speed, so we'll see if anything will happen with that going into next season, as Jensen is seriously closing the distance, looking to make a move on Conrad Straight, but it just won't be long enough as they head back into turns 21 and 22. Isidro will get a little bit of a saving grace from those turns, as this entire season Isidro has been much better in the corners compared to Jensen, but Jensen kind of capitalizing off of that same benefit, as the Lamborghini behind him is just that V10 engine just has a boatload of top end speed, as Wyatt's Garage now reigns on Rice's parade as he passes him going back into turn one. Rice tries to do a over-under, but is just unsuccessful as they are back on the mountain straight this time, and that C8 Corvette will just walk away from Rice. So Rice not really having the greatest start here to this championship race. We do still have a very, very long way to go, though, and if we know anything about Rice and Toyota, is that their long-term strategies do prove to be very potent, as we've seen earlier throughout this season. As we make our way down to the rest of the field for the first time, a couple other battles going on. Gal currently in 13th place all by himself. Ramos also kind of alone in 14th, as there appears to be very large gaps throughout this field already just on lap number 2, which is quite surprising. I was expecting the field to be a little bit closer, especially considering that the second half of this track tends to be very tight, which a lot of these cars tend to be better at, is these shorter, tighter end tracks. But I don't know, it appears maybe a lot of the teams, since they already know that they're out of the championship fight, they're probably just taking it easy and just simply racing for fun and just to finish. Anyway, as we look back at the front, a little bit more of gaps being made between Isidro and Jensen, although there again, Jensen just manages to close so much distance under braking. He must have been taking some tips from Ramsey, as that's a skill that Ramsey is very, very good at, if y'all have seen throughout this season, is closing distance under braking. As we are now on board with Jensen in the cockpit view, as we now go on to lap number 3. So these drivers absolutely flying around this track, and we'll see what happens here in just the next few laps, as it seems Ramsey, actually speaking of him, will enter the pits. So I guess he will begin the pit window as cars begin to go in for either more fuel or a change of tires. Just having a hear to this beautiful V10 as Jensen tries to reel in Isidro. Going back through the S's here momentarily, turns 12 through 17. And by this point, Jensen has in fact successfully reeled in Isidro, and with the top end power of that V10, we'll see if Jensen will go for a move this time around once they get onto the Conrad straight. Alright, here we go. So Isidro gets a very good exit, but here it is. Jensen's now in the draft, I believe. The V10 showing its greatest strength, which is that top end speed. But will it be enough? No. Jensen will still keep his patience and will just tuck back in. He will not go for the move. Very, very wise decision by Jensen, the rookie, who honestly this entire season has shown very, very, very veteran mindset and just track intelligence. Now, he has had some very questionable moments throughout the season, some very forceful, aggressive passes, and some minor contacts here and there. He definitely hasn't gone through this season completely unscathed as a rookie, but for the most part, I mean, here he is fighting to be the new champion here in season 2 as a rookie, which obviously in season 1 everyone was a rookie as well. Mystics was also a rookie champion in season 1 as we switched to him. Perfect timing. But I feel it's a little bit more impressive this time around, as now drivers as Mystics, as himself, they're now veterans, having raced one entire season, knowing all these tracks now. And so for a new, completely new rookie to come in and just borderline dominate, as Perez, yikes, takes a huge scrape into that wall, but he will keep it moving. Hopefully not too much damage was taken to that Dodge Viper. Which I will say, Perez has cleaned up his driving a lot more compared to earlier in the season, but it seems it's still a little tough for him to tame that Dodge Viper. But anyway, going back to as I was saying, I don't know, I just feel it's a little bit more impressive for Jensen to have now come in with all these now veterans and borderline dominate, aside the fact from Rice with Toyota and a Cedro for Mercedes, giving him a very well-earned fight for the championship. Is just, you know, it's unbelievable. So absolutely amazing job by Jensen and Team Audi to getting him to where he is. And we'll see if Jensen can seal the deal as Wyatt's Garage retakes Rice. Very, very unexpected battle going on here between Rice and Wyatt's Garage. Off the track, they are really good friends, but it is kind of interesting as to Rice getting loose there a little bit as he eats a little bit too much curb. But it is a little odd. Oh, he will actually come into the pits as well. That's actually very early for Toyota. Toyota normally doesn't pit in that early. So we'll see how this plays out, because I do not have a good feeling about that. But anyway, as I was saying, as I keep getting sidetracked, it's very surprising seeing them two fighting as hard as they are here in the championship race, considering that Wyatt's Garage and Chevy unfortunately are nowhere near the championship fight. So I'm not sure why Wyatt's Garage is giving him such a hard time overtaking him for position, or on the contrary, maybe Rice letting him take the position. I'm not really sure what the strategy is there, if there even is one. Like I said, it's just very weird to see Wyatt's Garage and Rice fighting so much here early on in this race. But anyway, cars coming out of the pits now. Whoa, we got a battle already immediately. Besnard and Perez chasing down Ramos. We'll see how this looks. Besnard seems to get a double move as he's on the inside, so he will secure that easily. And Perez will try and squeeze through after Besnard, but he will not be able to. Besnard apparently making it look easier than what it really is, as indeed Perez does not make it past Ramos. So Ramos will only give up one position. So kind of unfortunate for Perez, but that's the difference in skill and experience, is just knowing when to make the attack and how to close it. So rough lesson for Perez, but hopefully he will take it and learn from it and will be better next season, as there are a lot of new changes coming to next season. I will make a video after this race, basically going over the final results, the final points, and basically all the news and changes going into Season 3, as unfortunately for this series it isn't looking too good. So there's a high chance that Season 3 may very well be the last season. However, y'all do have the power to change that, so please, if you want to see more than Season 3, definitely make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below that y'all do want more of this series, and I will be more than happy to accommodate and try to make that work for y'all. As we're back at the front, 6 out of 10 laps, just 4 laps to go. Cedro still hanging on to the lead. Jensen right behind him. Unfortunately, this is only half of what Mercedes need. Mercedes needs Jensen to either make a mistake or just have a very bad pit stop, and for him to fall down the order, preferably to around 9th place, or even more preferably just out of the points altogether. But I believe 9th place is actually the max that Mercedes can allow Jensen and Audi to be, for them to still be able to win. But it's just not looking good in Mercedes' cards at the moment, as Jensen also does have the fastest lap currently, which is not good. So that's one extra bonus point for Jensen no matter where he finishes, as we see Rice again finally trying to get around Davi, making his way back up the field. He will do so he will get into 5th place, but still not a great position for Toyota and Rice. So Rice still having a boatload of work to do here with only 4 laps to go. However, he is looking much better on this track than he did last season. So hopefully that sticks and nothing happens to Rice and Toyota as they make their way up the field. Little battle here between Hidalgo and Gal for 7th and 8th place. Both drivers doing relatively well in their debut season. Both of them accumulating a few points between themselves as they try to settle into their new teams and their new cars. So we'll see how they do next season. Hopefully they do much better. Hopefully they can accumulate more points for themselves and for their teams respectively, as Gal looks like he wants to make a move on Hidalgo, but it's going to be close. He will back off as Hidalgo closes the door as they turn into turns 21-22, heading back towards the front straight. But Gal looks like he's not going to give up that easily, as he's still looking for an opening around Hidalgo. We'll see if he does it under braking on the final turn. No, Hidalgo will close that door, so Gal will have to wait. We'll see if he will initiate another attack going into the mountain straight this time after turn number 1. As we go further down the field, Mystics, Ramsey, Ramos, in 9th, 10th, and 11th place. Fairly in 12th. Fairly having a pretty okay season. A very impressive podium finish in Barcelona just a few races ago. So Fairly definitely doing a decent job holding her own. Still the only female driver this season, and it looks like she's still going to be the only female driver going into next season as well, which is a little unfortunate, but very good job on her behalf. As we continue down the field, fight between Casanova and Batter. Batter looks on the inside, but Casanova squeezes Batter very, very hard. But Batter will not let out. Look at that. Batter will hold on. He will stick his foot to the floor, and he will complete the pass over Casanova despite being nearly squeezed off track. Batter is just something else. I still believe Batter will probably get Rookie of the Year despite Jensen having the season that he's had. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Jensen will be your new season champion. So he will already have that title, so I feel it's only fair to give the Rookie of the Year title to another driver, considering, Jensen, he's a rookie, but he's most likely about to be the champion. So the Rookie of the Year will probably go to someone else, and I think Batter would be a fair choice considering the things that he's been able to do in the car and the team that he is with. Considering that, if I remember correctly, he's put that Genesis on the podium this season, which is a feat within itself, considering that car is definitely, especially in terms of speed, is very outclassed with the other cars in this race. But anyway, going back to the front, not much has changed. Gills is back up into 3rd. Or actually, no, I don't believe he ever left 3rd. I think he's been in 3rd this entire time. He's just kind of been by himself, no man's land, ever since the very early laps of this race. He just hasn't really had anyone challenging him for position, as Rice is kind of in the same situation ever since he passed Davi, getting into 5th place. So he did make one more pass, but I'll be completely honest, since the camera was not on him, we're not entirely sure who he passed for position going into 4th, but he pretty much put himself in the same position where now he's kind of like in a no man's land situation, and so because of that, there hasn't been too much activity at the front of the pack. But here in the lower top 10, we have a little train here with Hidalgo, Davi, Gal, and Barth. So I believe Davi took his pit stop, and so he kind of broke up the fight between Hidalgo and Gal. That's going to be my educated guess there, as unfortunately I missed if Davi did indeed take his pit stop and came out of the pits. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that that's what happened, as their small train goes through the S's here. Not too much of a battle actually going on, though. It kind of seems like they're just Congo lining. through the track, as it seems Isidro and Jensen, your top 2 drivers right now, finally will be taking their pit stop. Jensen entering with just ever so slightly more fuel than Isidro, so this could be huge. Jensen has a very high possibility at undercutting Isidro with this pit stop, as Gills will momentarily take the lead with the free undercuts on Isidro and Jensen. We will see who exits first, and it was Jensen. Jensen will undercut Isidro. He will take the lead with just 2 laps to go here in the championship race. What an amazing pit stop by Team Audi. To be fair, Mercedes was very close, even being down on fuel to maintaining the lead. But there you have it, folks. Literally the difference in just mere seconds will now change the course of this entire race. Well, theoretically, points wise, even in second place, Jensen was in the lead, but one thing that is about to make this very interesting is Toyota now has closed the gap pretty significantly compared to where they were. I mean, there's still definitely a large gap, but the gap was even larger before Jensen and Isidro took their pit stop. But I'm still worried at how early Toyota took their pit stop, as Toyota gets in the grass there a little bit, so Rice must really be pushing that Supra, as sure enough he catches up. So it's now a 3-car battle for essentially the championship here. Unfortunately, with these 3 cars together, Isidro's already knocked out as Rice goes for an inside move, going onto the Conroe straight. That was a beautiful, very clean move by Rice. And Jensen and Rice will just leave Isidro in the dust. What was that? Jensen and Rice just turn on the afterburners after that move, and Rice will overtake Jensen for the lead of the championship. Going to turns 21 and 22, we will be entering the final laps. The only thing that will make this better is that, Rice makes a mistake. He brakes too late and he goes into the grass. Jensen will overtake again. He will take the lead back. Gills will go into the pits, so the order will go back to how it started at the beginning of the race. The only difference being that Rice is now in front of Isidro. Again, unfortunately, Isidro with Jensen and Rice in first and second place, he's out. Unfortunately, he has no chance at winning the championship, but he can at least finish the race on the podium. Jensen absolutely pulling away, though. Probably, not even probably, the fresher tires and fuel definitely making a huge difference here. That was my biggest fear, is with how early Toyota took their pit stop this race, which that alone was just uncharacteristic of Toyota. They never pit that early, and I fear that it's gonna cost them the championship here, as Jensen is just undoubtedly making such a large gap between him and Rice. Rice on worn tires at this point, and probably low on fuel, is not a good combination to have here on the last lap of this race. But Rice is trying. He gets into the grass again. He hops in the air slightly, and he's so close to the wall. Oh my goodness, what a save by Rice. I'm not sure if he hit the wall there, but he is still moving. That car is still moving, but I think Rice maybe just had a code brown, as Isidro easily gets past him. Rice putting up absolutely no fight there in defense. So I think Rice might have had a code brown moment there and has backed off. So Jensen, the rookie for Team Audi, will most certainly be your new champion here in Season 2, with what will end as just a very insane final race of this season. Isidro will finish in second on the podium, but unfortunately it will not be enough points to overtake Jensen in the championship standings. So Jensen, congratulations. Team Audi will be your Season 2 champions. Congratulations again. Isidro will finish second. this race, but I believe he will finish third in the standings, but we will check that after the fact. Rice will close out the podium in third. It was a valiant effort, and he at least slightly overcame his Mount Panorama curse. Gills will finish 4th, Barth 5th, Mystic 6th, Ramsey 7th, Ramos 8th, Besnard 9th. Fairley will finish in the top 10. Very nice by her. Hildago 11th, Gal 12th, White's Garage 13th, Perez 14th, Davi 15th, Project G 16th, Batter 17th, Vergori 18th, Kudos Khalid 19th, and Casanova will finish out the grid. So this will conclude season 2 of the RWC. I just want to thank everyone for watching and enjoying, leaving likes, subscribing through this series, even though this is not the main driving force of my channel, I guess you can say. I will be making another video basically concluding everything throughout this series, stats for every driver, news for every driver, whether if they will be returning next season, if they'll be changing teams, excuse me, and basically anything that will be pertaining to Season 3. Now, as I did mention earlier in this video, Season 3 may very well be the final season to this series, unfortunately. But y'all do have the power to change that. If y'all actually truly enjoy this series, please let me know by leaving a like, commenting down below that you want more, and subscribe. That way y'all don't miss a post for this series. Thank you all again, and I will see y'all soon.